Welcome to Gorry Research, an Irish genealogical research firm. My name is Paul Gorry, and I'd like to tell you about my genealogical practice and its background. I started Gorry Research in 1987, having worked for 8 years professionally in genealogy. We pride ourselves on being meticulous and methodical. We believe that precision is much more important than speed, and our regular and new clients seem to agree with us. Apart from anything, we bring ethics, knowledge, skill, and experience to every search. You might think that tracing your ancestors is much easier today than it was back in the 20th century, now that there are searchable databases online. In many ways it is, but along with speedy databases come obstacles. Commercial websites are there to make money for the corporate bodies that own them. They need to entice people to use their databases, and they suggest to these people to create online family trees even before they have done any basic research. They provide hints generated by algorithms that can send the unwary away in the wrong direction. The web is cluttered with commercially fostered family trees that are riddled with inaccuracy due to hints and inexperience. I call this problem genealogical virus, and it's killing genealogy as a serious study. We in Gorry Research work on families of any background from any part of Ireland. The majority of Irish records are similar regardless of the location. We do, however, concentrate particularly on the counties of Wicklow, Carlow and Kildare. These three counties meet about 3 miles away from where I live. Most of the more general Irish records are online now in some form. Our research on behalf of clients may be done either online or in record repositories, or both, depending on the relevance. We also have our own extensive library of reference books, local history journals, and other sources that help us to evaluate potential research commissions and to assist our research. It may seem to a beginner in family history that they can do all the online stuff themselves and they only need us for inaccessible record repositories. Did I mention genealogical virus? When we're commissioned by a client, it's because of our ethics, knowledge, skill and experience, not just our proximity to a record repository. I suppose it's time that I told you about my background. I've been interested in family history and local history for as long as I can remember. Baltinglass in County Wicklow is my native place, but none of my ancestors were born here. My grandfather, a pharmaceutical chemist in Naas, County Kildare, opened a second chemist shop in Baltinglass in 1906. My father was born in Naas and came to Baltinglass in the early 1930s to manage Baltinglass Medical Hall, as it was called back then. My mother was born in County Armagh. She came to Baltinglass in the late 1930s. One of the people who had the greatest influence on my career choice was my aunt Kathleen McDermott. She encouraged my interest in history from a young age. She bought me Ladybird children's history books from when I was about 6 or 7 years old. She gave me information on the history of our family, and she brought me to the genealogical office. Well, this is the upper yard of Dublin Castle, and the place here behind me is the state apartments. It's where they have the inauguration of the presidents of Ireland, and also the state banquets for any state visits. For instance, Queen Elizabeth in 2011 and President Biden in 2023. And directly opposite is the Bedford Tower, which is this building here, right behind me. The Bedford Tower was in 1903. It became the office of the of Ulster King of Arms. Ulster King of Arms was the heraldic authority for all of Ireland, and the office was here until 1943. And then it was taken over by the Irish government. It lasted as a British institution until 1943, when it was handed over to the Irish government, and then it became the office of the Chief Herald and Genealogical Office. And this is where I started my career in genealogy as a freelance researcher for the Genealogical Office. So when I was 12 or thereabouts, my aunt Kathleen McDermott brought me and my cousins John and Mark to the Genealogical Office. And well, basically the only place we saw was that window there. It was the Heraldic Museum. And I thought when we went in there that there'd be a big drawer that they would pull open, and we would have my family tree going back to the dawn of time. But of course, there was no such thing. And when I was 19, I was back here again to have an interview with the Chief Herald. The Chief Herald's office was that room above the Heraldic Museum, and the Chief Herald was Mr. Slevin. So that was the room that Mr. Slevin occupied, and I was here for an interview to be added to the freelance panel of researchers. And I went in to talk to him thinking I have to really impress him and tell him all about what I know about genealogical records, which was pretty much minimal. I knew very little, even though I thought I did. And it didn't seem to matter to him, because he said then, well, you know, if you want to come and work on the panel, do so, and then just get it out of your system and then go off and get a real job. That was more or less what he said to me. So I never got genealogy out of my system, and I never got a real job. And that was one of the most thrilling days of my life, to be told that I was going to be on the research panel for the Genealogical Office. I just couldn't believe it. When I started Gorry Research, I chose an emblem or logo for the new business. The Tree of Men suggests a family tree made up of figures based on the man, the symbol of St. Matthew, from the Book of Durrow. This Durrow in County Offaly is where my earliest known Gorry ancestors were buried, and Matthew is a name used in several generations of the family. In the early years of Gorry Research, we sent out Christmas cards to clients, with our logo given a seasonal makeover by young family members. Our emblem was remodelled in 2018 with variations on the man by a 13-year-old artist who is now in art college. In 1987, when I started Gorry Research, I brought with me the methodical approach learnt from working for the Genealogical Office. Over the first 10 or 12 years of my business venture, I was fortunate to have some wonderful freelance researchers work for me. In the new century, having moved from Dublin back to my native West Wicklow, I decided to continue the business as a sole practitioner. Then in 2020, things changed again. An enthusiastic and skillful family historian, Emer MacDade, became my research assistant. Emer also happens to be my niece. I think. Maybe.
Right. None of the addresses really pop out. So none of the addresses really stand out.
No, they don't. But then again, we don't know where he was before Bally, whatever it was.
Yeah, he wasn't from there. He married into that.
In the mid-1980s, the small number of people working as professional genealogists in Ireland, in both the Republic and Northern Ireland, came together to form an organisation to provide accreditation or credentials and to give a structure to the profession. I was among those people. When the organisation was formed, each of us had to apply for credentials in order to be admitted. The organisation was called the Association of Professional Genealogists in Ireland. Today it's called Accredited Genealogists Ireland, or AGI. I served as its president from 2007 to 2009, and I was very pleased and honoured in 2022 to be elected a Fellow of AGI. The first book I wrote was with Maura McOneill, a colleague and also a Fellow of AGI. I've written a number of other books over the years to do with genealogy and local history. I've also written privately circulated family history books for clients based on research conducted by Gorry Research. Being based in my hometown of Baltinglass is a lot less stressful than living in a city. I can meet friends and very often clients in local hostelries, have a cup of coffee. Within 5 minutes cycling, I'm in the countryside. I often stop here when I'm on my cycles and just for a break and make phone calls and maybe take photographs as well. I love the view here. This field, I take photographs of this field in different seasons and with different crops, and it's amazing the difference in it. And up there, that mountain, that's Cadine, Cadine and Carrick. The one on the right is Carrick, and clouds are just going over it now, but there are two images up there that are just disappearing into the cloud, and folklore has it that they are Finn McCool and his wife. Finn McCool was, or Fionn McCool was a legendary hero in Irish mythology. And I very often put photographs up on social media and talk about how the McCools are doing, Mr. and Mrs. McCool, whether they're enjoying the summer weather or the rain. When I was probably about 10, I remember my dad telling me about that legend, the images on the hill, that they were Finn McCool and his wife. And more recently, a long time ago though, I found an article by Charles Drury, which was published in about 1910 in the County Kildare Archaeological Society journal, and he was talking about folklore in the West Wicklow area, and he mentioned Finn McCool and Mrs. McCool. So I believe their dog is there somewhere as well, but I've never seen him. This stretch of Mount Kelly Lane forms the boundary between the two counties, Carlow and Wicklow. I'm in Carlow right now. And now I'm in Wicklow. Now I'm back in Carlow. This is a Catholic grave. Here lieth the body of James Molloy, who departed this life November the 30th, 1788, aged 86 years. Lord have mercy on his soul. Amen. There are quite a lot of Catholics buried in this cemetery, and a lot of people wonder why they're here. Why did they actually become Protestant or whatever? That's not the case at all. The thing is that any Christian had right of burial in the Church of Ireland cemetery because it was the established church or the state church. So that's why you will find in very old Church of Ireland churchyards lots of Catholics buried, and lots of them are here. Cooperating with local businesses is fairly stress-free. I had my website redesigned by Rachel Kane, who's also based in Baltinglass. And Rachel runs the online Wicklow Marketplace, where local artistic creators, like me as an author, can market their produce. I've also cooperated with Parkmore Studios, run by John Hughes, a local young filmmaker. Together we've worked on documentaries and a few other projects. In fact, this promo video is being made for Gorry Research by Parkmore Studios. I hope you found this introduction to Gorry Research of interest. You can learn more about us on our website, www.gorryresearch.ie. Cheers.